right, welcome back to Zoom Bites, United Methodist Church. We're going to go over the recap of gnocchi. So here we go. First, we're going to use russet potatoes. We're going to throw these in boiling water and let them boil with the skin on. When they're done, we're going to peel up the skin. There's a couple of other ways to do it. I mean, you could roast them whole and then peel out the flesh like that, and that gives you a nice finish. But Mario Batoli does it this way, so we're going to do it this way, right? All right, potatoes going in this water. We're going to cover this with a lid and then bring it up to a boil. Let it boil till they're done. Till it's fork tender, we'll stick a fork in and see when they're done. Just like that. All right, so potatoes are done. I'm going to put my fork through them, make sure. Yeah, fork goes right in the middle. So what I'm going to do is just take them out, put them on a plate. We're going to take them to a cutting board. You can see how the skin's already peeling off on that side. Definitely done. Okay. We're going to peel them while they're hot. Okay. Peeling the potatoes while they're hot. I'll just get a napkin. I'm just going to go over, put it right over the potato and just kind of push the napkin around until the skin comes off, right? Okay. The reason why we keep the skin on is so less moisture goes into the potatoes. Because if we have the skin off, it's more porous and more water could get in. Okay, do it like that, and we'll do the other one. All right, so I have a ricer here. We're just going to put these potatoes in the ricer. Push it straight onto the cutting board like this. Rice it across the whole cutting board. Okay. If the potatoes are too big, you could break them in half. Okay. The reason why we rice the potatoes is to keep them nice and light and fluffy, okay? Now we want 2 cups of rice potatoes. That's all we want. So we'll measure this out. So here's 2 cups of potatoes. Just going to leave them like this for a little bit, let them dry out a little bit more. I measure this out. All right. Let it cool down for a couple minutes. Some steam will evaporate, make them a little drier. Then we're going to add our flour and egg. To these potatoes, I'm going to add half a cup of flour. So it's 2 cups potatoes, half a cup of flour, and we'll make a little well. We'll do 1 egg. We'll just mix that up. Mix it up with a spoon, then later on we could get in with our hands. I don't want to start with my hands because it's just going to get too messy, right? So we'll just get this together and then I'll use my hands. Push down with the knife. Okay. All right, the dough's starting to come together. Just going to dust it with a little bit more flour and then on the cutting board and then work the rest of it with my hands until it comes together. Like make it, it's going to be like Play-Doh, right? If it's still too wet, just add a little bit more flour. But the less flour you add, the less dense it's going to be. So we just barely want that to stick together. I'll scrape the bottom of this with this knife. Keep on adding flour till it's a little less moist. And then we'll get together a dough ball. Don't forget to add some salt and pepper, which I forgot to add. You can do that right in the beginning. Also, you could add whatever you want right now. I mean, you could add spices. Watch this. I'll even add a little cheese into this and just kind of knead it in a little bit more. Okay. Now that the dough's done, we're going to put some extra flour on the cutting board and we're going to roll some out. So I'll just cut it like this. Okay. Make sure there's a little extra on top too. We're just going to roll with our hands gently and kind of moving them outward till it rolls into a log about the size of a dime in width, right? If it gets too long like this and too hard to handle, you could just cut it in half and then make 2 logs, right? Okay, that one. If it starts falling apart, just push it back together. Or if it gets too thin. We're just going to cut it across. Now, traditionally, there's something called a gnocchi paddle. You could get on Amazon for like $8-10, right? And what you do is you take this and you push it down the paddle, and it gives it ridges. The ridges hold in more sauce. That's why they do it traditionally. We're not going to do that today, but if you want to, look up gnocchi paddle on Amazon. All right, we have water at poaching temperature. It's little bubbles and not fully boiling or simmering. It's just kind of a poaching temperature. It's about 160, 185. We're going to throw all these in and cook them slowly. We don't want to cook them on heavy heat or when it's boiling or simmering because it'll fall apart. Cook them slowly in a poaching temperature. When they come up to float, they will be done. And then we'll take them out, drain them, put them on a plate, and dry them off. Okay, so they're starting to float, right? We're going to take them off and put them on a plate with a paper towel. Okay. Drain them really good. That's how they look. Okay. I'm going to put another paper towel on top just to make sure the rest of the moisture is out of them. Because when we saute them, we don't want any water. We don't want things to splatter, right? Okay, just like that. Now what we did was we heated up our pan first, and then we put the oil in, and then we're heating up the oil. Then we're going to put the gnocchi in. We do that in steps. If you don't do that, it's going to want to stick. We're using a non-stick skillet though, which helps. But if you have a regular skillet, definitely want to heat up the pan, then put in your oil. All right, oil's all heated up. I can see it shimmering a little bit. So we're just going to add the gnocchi. You're going to want to hear it sizzle when you add it, right? That's a good sign. That means it's hot enough. Don't overcrowd your pan. You can put these close together, but don't put any on top of each other. We're just going to get some color on them. Let them go for a couple minutes on one side. Don't worry about it. Don't shake it or anything. Just let it go, do its thing, and then we'll flip them over. After a couple minutes, we'll check them. We'll flip them over. Oh, nice and brown. So like that. Looking nice and brown. Whatever's not flipped over, let's flip it over with a spoon. And that's basically it. After this, just cook it for like 30 seconds on the other side. When it's done, we could drain them onto a plate. Heat off. Let's bring this onto a plate like this. We'll use the same pan for the sauce. So I added the andouille sauces. Like I said, we're going to do it a little different this time. We'll do the andouille sauces, mushroom, Santa Fe sauce with onions. So we've got a little color on the andouille sausage. Next we're getting some color on the mushrooms. Let that go. Then we'll add our onions. We're not going to add garlic this time. We're just going to add some diced onions. Hard to see. There you go. It's now focusing. And then I'll hit it with white wine. Then we're going to hit it with a little stock and some spices. I'll put it in there. Let that go for another minute with the mushrooms in there. Let the mushrooms get some color. Mushrooms have color. Now I'm going to add a little onions. Let that for a little bit. Remember, the longer we cook them, moisture evaporates, the more flavor, right? So we'll cook these onions for a little bit. After the onions, if you wanted to, you could add the garlic. We're not adding garlic in this one. We're going to add spices. We're just going to change it up. You could add garlic and spices if you want. It's up to you. We'll let that go for about 2 or 3 minutes. All right, onions have been going. Now I want to add spices. I want Santa Fe flavor. So I'm going to add a little chili powder, and we're going to add a little cumin. So we can do a lot of chili powder. Like, you can't really overpower with chili powder, but you can only do a little bit of cumin. It's very overpowering, right? So we just wanted like a little dash. Yeah? All right, so we added our spices, and we're cooking our spices for a couple minutes because we're toasting them. When you toast spices, flavor comes out, okay? So we want to be able to smell the spices. Once we smell the spices, then we can do our next step is we can deglaze with white wine, just like we did in class. Remember we added the garlic, then did white wine? We'll deglaze with a little white wine. You don't need white wine if you want. It's just another layer of flavor. And we're going to reduce that till it's dry, right? So there's a lot of liquid now. We're just going to cook it till it's dry. Okay, a lot of my liquid is evaporated, right? Now watch, we didn't do this in class, but I'll even add another layer of flavor. This is some chicken broth, right? Well, some chicken broth. Pretend I was putting chicken in my dish, but we have andouille sausages. We want another layer of flavor. So we'll put that in, and then we'll reduce that a little bit to half, and then we'll add our cream, okay? So we've been reducing this for a little bit. We still could reduce it more, but you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and add some cream to it, okay? So we'll make it creamy. Stir it around a little bit. Add our gnocchi into it because that'll help thicken it because of the potato starch, right? And then we're just going to reduce this until it becomes thick, okay? And also, if you want, right now at this point, this is going to help with it thickening up. Is add some cheese, Parmesan cheese, Grana Padano, whatever you feel like, whatever dry cheese you like. You can add a goat cheese right now if you want. Smoked Gouda if you want. We'll move this around. Make sure that cheese gets in there. After it gets thick, we're going to turn it on and season it with salt and pepper, and then you're done. And then you could add, at that point, you could add tomatoes if you want. You could add spinach. Anything that's really delicate, you could add at the very end. If you wanted to add squash, saute it in a separate pan, throw it in at the very end, just toss it in. That's it. Okay, you can see that. You can see that it's reduced. It's a lot thicker. This is what it looks like. It coats the gnocchi, right? So that's done. Right now, we taste it. See how it is. If it's bland, we could add a little salt. We use kosher salt. Just a little bit at a time. You could always add more. And a little black pepper. Taste it again. And then you're done with gnocchi. Could add a little parsley for color if you want. Or cilantro since it's Santa Fe style. There's your bowl of gnocchi. All right, hope everyone enjoyed the class. I had a blast with you guys. It was a great team. Everyone did great, and that was a hard dish. So congratulations. See you next time.
Memories when everything was as fresh as the bride.